This is.
Great. Anything we need to add to the agenda? Any,
Just the continuances.
Did you?
so maybe just if anybody's in the room for the couple of these, I can let you know early on. Crosby Property, Clap Road, access and parking, that's gonna get continued to November 7th, as well as, number 3, the Driftway is gonna get continued to November 7th. So if anybody's here, sitting here for that, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right.
Oh, Driftway 3, Driftway is gonna be continued? Is that?
That's what I'm saying. Yep.
Okay.
We'll vote them with the
Yeah,
the right
no,
time, but
this isn't on mine.
actually, we can do them right
Well, I
now.
could do them right now.
Well, why don't you do that, Penny?
Oh, okay, I will. I make a motion that we continue Crosby Property Clap Road to November 7th at 6:20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
I make a motion we continue 3 Driftway. I can't even talk now.
Whiffway?
Yeah, Driftway to November 7th at 6:20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, right on the agenda is the 90 in Vinyl Road Flexible Open Space donation.
I'll start, I guess.
Sure, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Hayes, at Ornberger and Delisi and Harris. I represent the applicant, represented by Paul Sharon, and also with Paul Mirabito. I think you probably have a copy of my letter and discussions regarding adding to the open space on this flexible open space development. For the special permit, there are 2 surrounding open space parcels. The reason we're here is that the special permit by the planning board requires, as well as the flexible open space development bylaw requires that open space be given to a land trust or the Conservation Commission. We spent probably 4 months going around the state to various land trusts. I had 2 meetings with the Bill Constable, who is the president of the Mass Land Trust Association, and numerous phone calls to various land trusts and discussions with them. And land trusts simply do not want this type of open space. They're interested in land that may, I think like the commission is interested in land that abuts or is near water supplies or the ocean or those types of things, but they don't want these. They don't want these. So what we have done, as you see, and Paul can show you on this plan, which is a new A&R plan approved by the planning board, showing the subdivision and the existing and approved open space parcels, as well as 2 other parcels to the northeast. The one on the top is the biggest parcel, about 9 acres. And what we're proposing to do is to ask the commission to take that piece and the existing open space parcels surrounding the development and take them under your care and custody. That would satisfy the planning board requirement, and it would satisfy the flexible open space development bylaw. And then Paul Sharon can meet that last requirement of the special permit and proceed with his project.
Maybe, Paul, for some of the members that haven't seen it, if you can kind of, thank you, Mike.
I'll start with the plan the planning board approved back on October 11th. This lot 1 is a flexible open space development. The applicant also purchased this remaining property, And we call it parcel 3 with 9.76 acres, and parcel 4 with 3 acres. And they're both open space parcels. And the plan is to convey parcel 3 and combine it with the open space parcel. That 9.76 acre parcel, parcel 3, is outlined in yellow, and it would be combined with open space parcel 1, which is this area here, and there's open space parcel number 2, which is in here. These are stormwater basins, which are not included in the open space, but, and this is the proposed roadway system with 16 lots around it.
What about the school's parcel?
Well, the other parcel, which is a 3-acre parcel, our proposal to you is that we have had discussions with the superintendent of schools, and that parcel 4 abuts the Hadley School property. And the school department, the superintendent is extremely interested in that parcel. If, over the next couple of years, I'm on the school committee as well, but what we're doing right now is we're evaluating the needs of the elementary schools. But first, we have had to evaluate what is the best educational model for K through 5. And whether that is to continue what we consider to be our neighborhood schools, or to perhaps close the school and build or add on to one school, one elementary school for a bigger school, so that we would have a big school at Jenkins, a big school perhaps at Hadley, and the existing Wampatuck School. Once that decision is made as to what is the best educational model, we will then determine what we do with the physical plants of the elementary schools. The school committee last week authorized a notice of intent to the Mass Building Assistance Program, which is not, it's a statement of interest, but it is not, there is no project, but you have to get in the queue with the state for potential funding assistance, and you need at least a 2-year head start to get in line for those projects. So nothing has really been decided, but the school department is looking at it, all their options very carefully. What we would propose to do would be to say to the Conservation Commission is that if the school committee and the superintendent does not want that 3-acre parcel, we will deed that to the Conservation Commission. In addition, the owners of the property have authorized me to offer to the commission a $3,000 payment as a stewardship fee for this open space. And the big parcel, the 9-acre parcel out back, is, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but it is all wetlands, I believe, and it leads down into the marshes and off of Hadley Road. So, again, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Sure. Do you mind if I
No, go
jump in?
ahead.
Because I
Go ahead.
spent some time
Yeah.
with this and appreciate Paul working with us, your partner Don, Mike, all working together to make this work. And I know your frustrations with the bylaw and how this all works, but our commission has had pretty good success with a couple of these projects. White Ash and Studley Farm both had excess property that they were able to contribute. In White Ash, it went down towards the reservoir. Studley Farm, it abutted property we already had. So in both those two subdivisions, they were flexible open space subdivisions. We were able to take the additional property and join it with other property, which made a lot of sense. This particular property, as you found out, it's hard to get somebody to really show a lot of interest. It's a small piece of property. adjoining a bunch of homes. We call it creep, but over time, people that build a home there tend to drift into that space if it's not owned by anybody per se. And so it makes it hard for a land trust that's purview, or they've been mandated to protect that property, and it's difficult for them to protect it. So that's why they don't, when I've had the similar discussions, the town has sort of partnered up with the Wildlands Trust for doing our conservation restrictions, and they've got a great fellow over there, good resource, Scott McFadden, who spent some time on this as well. So luckily, you folks had some extra property. We were very interested in it. At the same time, cognizant that the school had an interest in some of that, we were able to get with everybody and kind of shake that out. And I think it's a good situation. Fortunately, you had some additional open space there. I don't believe all of that 9 acres is wet. I walked a good deal of it. The parcel that's closest to the school is more upland. And there's parcels of the open space that are wet, but there's enough upland and all that something could be done with it. And the commission doesn't really have much open space in that area, so it's not gonna be like a long walk, but we could create some sort of looping trail in there that might work out. And I had a conversation with the superintendent of schools when we were talking about this, that maybe we could do some collaboration at some point, depending on what you'd ultimately do with the school, Mike, that maybe there's some sort of nature walk that could be fit in with the elementary school program. So I think at the end of the day, it's been a little frustrating, but it could all be positive. And I would hope that everybody else would think it's been a long time in the mix to get this put together, so.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say, wouldn't it be wonderful to do something like they did down at the charter school off of 123?
Right.
They did that nature walk in there. And I personally, I would think, oh geez, that's a bigger school, more kids, we could do a nice nature walk in there. I understand the majority of it's wet, but we could still, do a nature walk, maybe boardwalks. The more I think about it, I think it's, go for it.
Yeah, and that's,
And I'd like the 3 acres too. I'm greedy.
You're probably gonna get them then.
well,
Then
but I
we could
think,
do something with
just
the school. That's
don't
what
forget
I'm-
the schools have just
Yeah.
kind of, the Ellis parcel, they've deemed that surplus, and hopefully that'll eventually be working back towards the Conservation Commission. So we're,
Exactly.
we all want to work together on that
Yeah,
if we
no,
can.
Exactly. So I'm thrilled.
Doug?
There's no real questions. It's slightly amusing to see how difficult it is to give away a piece of property.
Well, it's not buildable, that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key.
But
But we like it.
It meets the bylaw. You have to do something. That you don't need to be stuck in the middle of. So, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Richard?
I'm fine with it. My only question is, and maybe I'm just not seeing, where's the access?
So Paul could probably point out the Hatherley School.
I can see that.
This is the school property here,
Yep.
right in here. This is all the school
Mhm.
property.
And there's a parking lot right down by Vinyl Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the parking lot right in here. Which is school. So they could access this one from in here.
Thank you.
This is the driveway going into the existing house, which is gonna remain in place. There's actually some parking over in here they could park in. Could park
I think the
over
school's
here.
pretty much in agreement that we could use that soccer field.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
That's what I
so people could park there, and I kind of see this more maybe something that's done in conjunction with the schools, like more of a nature walk. That will be the school than maybe necessarily a place where people, although neighbors, if they're walking the dog or something
Sure.
and looking for a spot, could certainly utilize it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. I'm good.
Paul?
Sounds good.
Lisa?
Sounds good.
Jim?
All set?
Amy, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think it also sounds good. So I think the vote would be to write a memorandum in support of the acquisition of this property, and then it would go to the Board of Selectmen,
Yep.
and they would similarly vote and work out the deed language with town council. And then, so that's your move.
And I think Amy was also very helpful, you know, we do have a whole section of accepting open space and the priority for that space and the value that it should have. I mean, the town, you know, we tend to think we want to keep lots of open space. The town doesn't necessarily see the value in owning all that land if it's not necessary. So I think that it is, ultimately, the selectmen will have to do that. But I think given how everybody's worked together, I'm hoping that they'll see the virtue in that. And I'd be happy to go to the selectmen's meeting and hopefully endorse that.
I prepared a draft deed, similar to other ones for the open space in the town, but, you know, I would assume once the commission votes to approve this, I can get those electronically in the town hall, and they can be sent to town council, and I'm sure they'll approve it quickly, because we would, you know, we'd like to get
Sure.
in front of the selectmen as soon as possible, with a positive vote here.
Okay. Well, we'll encourage them to do the same.
Yeah, and I've seen it go that you would go to the selectmen to get their endorsement first, then get your deed together, and then
Right.
you go back for them to actually vote and
Yeah.
accept it, right? Okay.
However you wanna do it. I
Okay.
make a
Anybody in
mo-
the audience? Anybody else?
I make a motion that conservation would love to have custody of the land in Vinyl Road. I don't know what we're gonna call it.
Right now, it's 90.
At 90 and Vinyl Road being offered as open space.
We can call it Paul and Don's.
Boondoggle.
That's not- All in favor?
I,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And, like I said, Paul's offering $3,000 student.
Oh, we'll take that.
We heard that.
Yeah.
So what
we will
we'll
take
do-
everything.
I didn't hear that. Wait a second.
So what,
she used the word love.
you know, that was sort of in line with what Wildlands Trust, when we talked to some of the trust organization, they said the same thing. What we've been fortunate to have is a group of volunteers that are doing a lot of this trail work. They're using equipment, things like that. We don't really have a budget for any of that, so that money will go there, and then we'll meet with some of these guys that do that work, and we'll map out some sort of trail, and then they'll go at that. We're working with volunteers, but they need equipment and stuff, and we can.
I like the idea of the school being able to access it. I think that's
Oh.
terrific.
Yeah, no, Frank and I must.
Be a future group of tree huggers, Paul, that you'll have to contend with.
It's one of the best parts of the plan for the middle school, with the access to the vernal pool,
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
to living classrooms.
Yes, well, that was our goal.
And that worked out well, working with the school with that.
They were very good about it.
Yep.
So,
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Thank
You all
you.
very much.
Where are we?
I think you could, so I rearranged the agenda
Okay.
format, you may have observed.
I like this.
But so, public hearings, I mean, technically, we could go right into them, or we could skip down to public meetings and do the RDAs, like, kind of like we usually do, and get those, since they're pretty quick, get those out of the way. It's totally up to you. But we're in the right time frame, so we could go right into the NOI hearings. It's up to you.
We've been doing it all this way for so many years, Amy. Now you're gonna try to confuse me.
Just how it appears on the paper, Frank. So why don't you do the RDAs then?
Let's see how quick this guy is. All right.
Yeah.
So 138 Central Ave, Mary and Richard Walsh. Septic tank on October 22nd, 2018, during the 6:15 meeting, the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Mary and Richard Walsh for determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to replace a septic tank on property located at 138 Central Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Hi, Frank.
How's it going, Mr. Armstrong?
Good. Peter Armstrong, last August, we did a Title V inspection at this house. They have a existing 1,500-gallon tank that's been beat up by the storms. And we're just gonna replace the tank in the same spot where it's located now. We have, actually, I think there's pictures somewhere in the whole package. There's no dunes, there's no growth anywhere around this. This house seems to be the one that takes all the water when it washes through, so we just want to put the tank right back in its same spot and make it so we get a passing Title V.
Okay. Kenny?
No, I have no questions. You need a septic system.
No question.
No questions.
Sounds good.
Go for it.
Perfect. Thank you.
We gotta give you a
Oh,
vote.
yeah.
Amy? Anybody in the
I
audience?
was waiting for a motion. We're gonna skip that part.
No.
Well, all right, so real quickly, we don't generally do septic systems as RDAs in Hummerock because it's all resource area. Land subject to coastal storm flowage, barrier beach, coastal dune.
Yeah.
But this is strictly the tank. If the project gets bigger, you may need to come back.
Right.
But it does have Board of Health approval.
Yes, I do have a disposal works permit from the Board of Health
So I
back in
think it's-
September.
We want to get it going before
Yeah, first storm.
yeah, before the storms come in. So what the vote would be a -2/3. Great.
Okay. So,
Okay, I make a motion for -2 and 3.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
There you go. Now you can get out of
Now
here.
you can. Goodbye.
See you all in Hummerock.
48 Ocean Drive, O'Brien Deck. On October 22nd, 2018, during the 6:15 meeting in Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Ken O'Brien for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Situate Wetlands bylaws to replace a deck on property located at 48 Ocean Drive, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Hi. So I was
So
here
just for the
before.
record, just state your name and.
I'm Kenneth O'Brien, property owner,
Okay.
48 Ocean Drive in Hummerock.
Yep.
I built a deck, I didn't realize that I needed to get a permit. It was really a repair, but, so I was at the other meeting as a,
Oh, the other one that had.
Yeah, I-
nice.
Yeah, we had the
Yeah,
pictures,
pictures.
yeah.
Okay, now we remember. Yes.
So, I did submit with Amy the paperwork. I didn't have, I submitted material to the building department for the permit over there. And then, unfortunately, I didn't have any, but one copy, and I gave it to Amy, but she said, well, you didn't really show us the deck. So, I don't know what you folks have, but I've made it so you can see where the deck is. I don't know whether you'd
It's all
like
around. Yeah,
to see
we
it.
saw the pictures last.
The pictures were good. I think.
Yeah, you had
back
pictures.
week.
Yeah.
We-
Yeah.
Now we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
At least I do.
I think I missed that.
Up there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a beautiful deck.
Yeah, replace the deck, there's all Rosa Rugosa and dune around it.
It
but-
it was really quite pretty, he just
didn't do it come first.
He did a real nice job.
Yeah.
Really
It was the
nice.
best meeting of the year.
Well, that's good. I mean, if you're gonna be doing violation, at least do a good job.
Yes, yes. And he did come right in.
It was all
and he
repair,
apologized.
Sure.
So he did everything right, and he's back again.
Sounds like you already won him over.
You did.
I did mention that I've probably planted 100 times more rose bushes than I may have taken out to do this.
Yeah,
But, and if you want to see some pictures, I have that too.
Okay.
that's fine. The more the better.
You know.
They're gonna help you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
No, unless Amy does.
Anybody in the audience?
I make a motion for after the fact, -2,
2, 3.
2 and 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for
Thank you
working
very
with us and
much.
getting that
Thank you.
sorted out.
Okay.
Nice job.
It was a gorgeous.
We have a request for minor modification, McKenna at 13 Wheeler Street. We want to fuss with those or go back up to the,
Well, we could now, I think it's quick.
okay.
Did you all see what they're proposing? Well, basically, so they have an order of conditions that had a restoration area, which was landscaping and some Phragmites management. But so this is just the plan formalizing what you had requested in the order. And, I mean, I think it looks good. It's native plantings, they're hardy to the salt water. The wall is gonna run in the front of the property, and that's gonna be just ornamental wall in the front of the property, basically, just, it's the small wall. You know the house? You guys remember the house?
Yes.
So it'll be good to get this, because I think this is it. The house is up, it's done, it's just, this needs to be,
It's a tough spot. I mean, they don't have a lot to work with there around it in terms of areas, so.
right.
And you've had discussion with them, so you feel they understand what they gotta do to
Well,
pull
I've
this
had
together?
discussions with Greg Morse,
Okay.
who prepared the plan. And I have not directly with the owner.
Okay.
But as long as they execute the plan in accordance with proposed, it should be good. I mean, it's as you said, it's a tough area. They're right there in
Yeah.
the smack in the,
This was like a remove and replace, and it's in the marsh.
yeah, it's in the marsh. And you had asked for this planted area in exchange for them to be able to do what they did.
Right.
And it's an extension too, as well, to the OOC?
Yes.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
would sign the yeah, you would vote the extension and vote the acceptance of the plan, if you agree.
I make a motion that we accept the minor modifications for 13 Wheeler Street, landscaping and stone wall.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion, we extend the OOC for 3 years on 13 Wheeler Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There you go. Okay. Makes sense. Want to move back up to River Street? Number 4 River? So let's see, where are we?
I think it was something with the stormwater.
Was that continued?
Yes, it was.
They were waiting for the stormwater to be
Yeah.
complete.
Right.
He also asked if they had one space for handicap
Yep.
in the front of the proposed handicap ramp, which we did. These underground infiltrators, we had them over the flagpole, so we moved them to this location so the flagpole could stay. Everything else is the same. We also submitted stormwater calcs for the smaller storms, and these 2 sets of chambers, this one and this one, were more than adequate.
Penny?
I have no questions, you did what we asked.
Bless you.
Bless you.
God bless you.
Doug, you're all,
No question.
Richard?
I agree, they did what they asked.
No,
It's good.
we're all set.
Lisa?
Nope, that sounds terrific.
Jen? Any other comment?
I think they met what we asked for, so I think it's good.
Any-
And one of the things that we had talked about at the last meeting was, in this particular instance, it's a tight construction time frame for
Yes.
the chief, so we're gonna make a motion to close and then
Oh.
make another motion to issue,
The orders.
and it would be a standard order.
All right.
With special conditions as noted, if you feel that there should be special conditions of some sort.
Okay. Anybody in the audience to speak to this?
I make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have
And
you
then-
written the orders yet? Yeah. I thought so.
All
They're
right.
standard.
Yeah.
But it leaves it open for you to add special
Yeah,
conditions.
no,
I think the only-
I think last time, though, we said as long as they got the stormwater stuff, we were gonna vote and close, right?
we did.
And-
Right,
yeah.
and, well, I was gonna have you sign the signature page, and then we could modify the paperwork as necessary.
If need
Okay.
be.
Okay.
So I think the only special condition would be the, denoting the stormwater, what exactly with the stormwater report, that everything's constructed in accordance with the That the stormwater report takes into account the infiltrators, right?
Pardon?
The stormwater report takes into account the infiltrators.
We
So
shipped
it's,
it into Maryland.
I just think it's good to spell that in accordance with the submitted and accepted report. That would be the only special.
Sounds good, Doug.
Just in case something happens to Paul between now and then.
You never know.
Okay.
He's there. Bye, Paul. We'll see you later.
Take the vote to issue?
No, so do we want
We
to,
need a vote to issue.
We could. I make a motion, we accept the orders as written with the special condition of what Doug just said about everything in compliance with the stormwater report,
or whatever he meant?
or whatever he meant.
Yeah, okay.
An issue tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Phil's still stewing over why he wasn't next.
I looked at the agenda, and I thought, geez, I'm third.
Oh, no such luck.
Later.
So what are we missing here? 52 Edith Holmes Drive?
I'll try to make this quick.
Well, let me read my spiel first. On October 22nd, 2018, at 6:25 PM, the Town Hall of Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetland hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Mike Donahue to upgrade a septic system on property located at 52 Edith Holmes Drive, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening, Mr. Spath.
My name is Bill Spath Engineering, hopefully it'll be a quick one. You all have a copy of the plan. What we're gonna be doing is putting in a septic system within the back side of the site. The wetlands come all the way around, hook around, and tie into here. It's really the only location of placing the system. The Board of Health has approved it. And we're asking for a variance to be within the 50-foot buffer zone. The 50-foot buffer zone comes into here. This whole area is within that 50 feet. And it's gonna be a treatment unit with a drift, the lowest profile system that you can get out of there. In order to reduce the mound is gonna be placed in there. Make a long story short, that's it.
You go out there, it just isn't, because Amy
Penny?
and I wanted it to go in the front, but there just isn't room.
No.
No, it's,
And even if you put it in the front left, it's still in the 50
yeah,
buffer.
no,
the 50s.
It's an old house.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
Phil, where was the existing system?
Long time
The
ago.
tank is right here, and where the system is, God
Lord knows.
I know where the tank is, but.
You'll probably hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can see, the tank is right within this location. It's,
Okay,
I don't know,
Yeah.
got it.
It could just be a pit or something.
yeah, could be anything.
Doug?
No, looks like that's all, I mean, your options are pretty limited.
It's the best of bad options.
Richard?
It's the best of bad options.
Okay. Put that in the notes.
Looks great. That improved system will be excellent for the environment.
Lisa?
Positive move, sounds good.
Jen?
Bill, is there
Any
a
other comment?
barrier around there?
What's that?
Is there like a
Yeah, it's
Okay, so
gonna be-
just real quickly,
impervious barrier?
yeah, upon first glance at the plan, I was like, is there anything we can do to, bring it out? But like Penny said, it's a tight site, there's
Oh, this is a
really
drip system.
not a
Oh,
lot of
gotcha.
options in the front at all. So in the back, unfortunately, it's pretty close, but, so one of the things I was thinking was, on sites like this where it's so tight and you have the resource area right there along the grass line, would be to maybe add a few posts at the end of the job, just maybe with a sign that said conservation protected area, so that way the future owner doesn't come in and mow down into the resource area when they change ownership. Sometimes, the new owners wanna, get a bigger lawn, so that, if we have that type of, post, that could maybe correct that if that is gonna happen. And then also, is Board of Health all set with this?
Yeah.
Great, okay.
So what do you think, like 4 in order to,
About, no, for 3.
okay,
Yeah, it's not that big.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
okay,
And then if they're right at the edge of the, grassed area,
yep,
they wouldn't be a tripping hazard or anything.
Because it's defined, you have a wooded area, and the grass area is right
Right,
there.
Okay.
But you'd be surprised how many people like to use it as their dumping grounds and/or, you know, cut down the trees and try to plant it.
Keep moving. Oh, we had,
It happens a
These
lot.
are,
it happens recently.
Okay, do we have a motion to close?
I make a motion to close.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Hey, Phil, with just.
Sorry that went so
Off
quick.
that-
So are you gonna
so
add those special
I put some of
conditions?
these in when they were in
Yeah.
the trial
Okay.
Yeah.
phase of DEP, like way back, those drip systems. So, yeah, I did one, I think maybe
I know.
you, or you came in behind and, I don't know, but how have they
I
been working?
don't want winter yet.
Oh, they dig it up? Yeah, right.
Everybody's
Well, the effluent's completely treated.
Yeah, my daughter calls.
The effluent's treated on these, like, so it's,
You too, like,
Because you need to clear water.
let me take all this.
yeah, so even though it's close to the bed, it's like,
And then the biggest
you could
thing
take a
is
glass of water
Well,
and
we
go out
can
there.
drink it.
Oh,
All right, that's it, we're done.
about 10, 10
That's what
Cricket
the
Circle.
Jeff.
said.
Jeff, am I on the abutters list for that, do you know? Can you check?
You can water your.
No, no,
We got one-
Brunswick.
we got 10
Yeah,
crickets
yeah.
first.
But I was just seeing his plan.
On October 22nd, 2018, at 6:30 PM in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Michael and Donna Rappa to raise an existing dwelling and install new septic system on property located at 10 Cricket Circle, Scituate. Other abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Thank you, Jeff Bassett, What's Engineering, and this is an NOI to raise and rebuild the home at 10 Cricket Circle. The property's about 35,000 square feet in size, and the existing home I have outlined now on this plan. They also have a paved driveway. The lot is entirely upland. The wetland offsite was delineated in June by Brad Holmes. We've got the 50-foot buffer in red and the 100-foot buffer in green. So the proposed work will be to demolish the existing home, build a new home in the same general location, shaded in brown. Remove the paved driveway and put in a new pervious driveway in the same location. And put in a new septic. It's a septic repair, no increase in flow. So this will, actually, I see it as an improvement in terms of wetland impact. Currently, there's no stormwater mitigation on site, and we are adding dry wells at each corner of the house. It's a reduction in impervious, even though the house is a little bit bigger, because the driveway will now be impervious. We're putting a mulch sock at a downgrading limit of work, and there's no work in the 50-foot buffer.
Penny?
Why am I having a problem?
That's a good question.
So,
Hey, hey,
Maybe you got the wrong glasses.
circle, and this would be the last house.
oh,
on the
wait a
left.
minute, now I know, it's, yeah, oh,
Off of
okay.
Hathaway.
Yeah, no, my brother's lived there once,
Okay.
in that area, now I remember.
So last house on the left,
Yeah.
they own the grass field over here.
Yeah, right, okay, no, I'm all set.
Doug?
No questions. The one question I had was really for the board, when I was looking at this, under those stormwater bylaws, we don't look at just increase, we look at in total disturbed area. In other words, when I first looked at it, I thought, why aren't we subtracting the existing house from the calculated area? But is that just the way our bylaws read?
It's total area of disturbance.
Even if there's something was there already?
So we don't eliminate that piece from it?
No,
Is that
Like
still the way it is in the
square
new,
one.
the proposed modifications to that part of the bylaw?
Well, yes and no. That definition has been tightened up, so there's less ambiguity about it, but, there's another avenue for single-family homes to kind of streamline the stormwater. And in light of those regulation revisions, which are very close to being ready for public hearing, through the planning board and acceptance, I think that this meets that intent. But strictly area of disturbance, does it go over? I mean, I don't know.
And the area of disturbance is strictly whether or not it triggers the bylaw, right? It's not a standard of, what's the word I'm looking for? An engineering standard of, oh God.
Performance standard.
Thank you, a performance standard. It's just whether that triggers the bylaw. Because, I mean, if you go in for like a subdivision, you calculate the existing water flow, cubic feet per second, and then your proposed development can't increase that flow. And in this case, he actually probably lowers it with the dry well, because he's picking up the roof water. But it almost, the reason why I'm asking is because when I first looked at this, I was painstakingly going around the existing house, subtracting that out. There's a slight modification in the driveway, but you'd have to subtract out those pieces, and so he was well under the 15,000 square feet. So the question is not for Mr. Hassett, it's just like, I'm trying to clarify how this bylaw works, that we don't, if you stick a shovel in the ground, that counts as disturbance.
Knock something down.
Yeah.
Counts as-
Yeah, I thought that that confused me. I would have thought that you would go for, if a raise and rebuild, something like this, and you had the same house footprint, that since there's no net change, that you wouldn't include that area, but I don't mean to complicate it. I'm just asking for my own clarification. So that's, anything you do on the site, we think, other than the acceptances that he lists here, then it triggers the bylaw, and then they have to go out to some sort of mitigation. But the mitigation is somewhat subjective as well. Doesn't have to be a zero net.
Well, I don't know if it's subjective, but it needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
Stormwater
but we don't require them to have a zero
Rate
net.
and volume need to be met. It's not zero impact or zero offsite. Well, no, I guess it is zero offsite impact.
It's still pre and post, you have to do, that's it.
I haven't read the new regulations really that close yet. I don't know if they have a new definition of alter or disturb. Or even,
Come to the public meeting.
or even really what the performance standards are. I guess
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
figure it out though.
Yeah, no, the new definition doesn't really clean this up, because I think that as you say, the flavor of the bylaw when it was written was so that these new developments, new homes, raised rebuilds, subdivisions, whatever, that they were going to clean up some of the stormwater issues that the town was having for abutters and for just overall water quality. And we also have a state and federal bylaw with the MS4 standards that the town needs to meet. So that was, I believe, of course, it predates me, so I'm just getting that hearsay secondhand that was what it was all about. But I think it's been definitely a bone of contention among developers and different boards and committees who are charged with, enforcing the bylaw and making sure that it's met. But anyway, so the rewrite is gonna clean it up a little bit and hopefully reduce costs for single-family homes by making easy solutions the accepted practice, like what Jeff is proposing.
Yeah,
So don't get too attached to this set, it's going away.
yeah, that's fine, that's fine. I'm just trying to figure it out. It's, obviously, it can be a can of worms, that bylaw. I think
Oh,
you've probably
yes.
already experienced that if you get it down to a single-family lot, and your requirement is that there's a pre and post development calcs for a single-family lot, depending on all the other factors around it, like lot area and soil types and all those things, you're gonna start getting into what you can do to mitigate that.
Right, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but do you have the statistics on area of disturbance and percentage and stuff like that?
I do. This is actually a 2-page plan set. On the second page, there's a thing and all that of it. And then we also have some notes on the plan for this plan. We're disturbing per the bylaw 7,700 square feet. And that does, there are some exemptions, the bylaw says you don't include septic repairs, and you don't include area where the grades have been altered by less than 2 feet. So this is a project that if we had to run the numbers, it would be a reduction, just because there's less impervious on the site, same disturbed area for the most part, and adding roof dry wells.
I'm fine, thanks. Good. Thanks for entertaining my question.
Paul? Lisa?
Nope.
Jen?
I'm good.
Do you want to add anything else to that, Amy?
No, I mean, I think this is a permittable project. You know, I did make some comments before we got to the meeting. He added some changes, added some detail that was missing. So, I think it's in pretty good shape.
Anybody in the audience? Okay, do I have a motion to
Are you all
close?
set?
I'm fine.
Okay, I make a motion to close.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Paul, I did not see you on the boards. Let's go.
Okay, I thought I was, but maybe not.
Must be just outside of 100 feet maybe.
Is that Penny? What do you do with all that stuff?
Wonder what you do.
Number 9, Brunswick.
This is special.
Where's my spiel? Bear with me for 1 second. All right, Paul, where'd it go?
You losing stuff again? What's that? It's not it?
This is for the advertisement.
Okay. Do you want me to modify this one for you?
We might have to.
You can just write in time is
Sure.
6:35.
So on October 22nd at 6:35 PM, the Town Hall Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetland hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Rick Lemare for a single-family home located at 9 Brunswick Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Good job, winging it.
Here we go.
All right, so with me is Richard Lamar, the property owner. He owns 9 Brunswick Street, and the existing home is shaded in brown, outlined in brown also. The property is small, it's about 5,600 square feet, and they also have a paved driveway right here. The wetlands, they're one property removed from the South River, so the 50-foot buffer to the salt marsh is right there at the corner of the property, and about half the property is within the 100-foot buffer. The entire property is in the 200-foot riverfront area, and it's in a FEMA zone AE elevation 13. So the board is a 16 by 24 addition, colored in orange. That will be up on concrete piers, so in compliance with FEMA. And then also 2 decks, that will be on concrete sonotubes with wooden posts. Those are colored in pink. The project really should have no adverse impact on the wetlands. We're outside of the 50-foot buffer. We have an erosion barrier. We're in compliance with FEMA. And the addition's in an area that's currently a paved driveway. And we're not digging a full foundation, so there'll be minimal land disturbance.
No.
No?
Richard?
Good.
Would you say it's gonna be elevated above 13? AE is what, the lowest horizontal structure?
Yeah, the first floor will be at 14.7 to match the existing.
Okay,
What's the foundation for?
so it's already up on pier.
The addition, it will be on concrete piers.
Lisa?
I think it's great, less impervious, it's a win-win.
Jen?
All set.
Amy?
I'm good, except that the wetland line, I think Did they update it, Jeff? Because Greg had spoke about him updating the wetland line that was 14 years old.
Yep, so we double checked that. The wetland line is from a septic repair done in 2005 for this property. And the question was whether it's still accurate. So I looked at an aerial image, and the addition, this is at the property, South River.
Yeah.
The addition's actually going on the other side of the house from the river, and I just used, I checked how far it would be from basically the edge of the gravel to the property corner, and it's coming up at 56 feet.
Okay.
So I'm confident the entire property is outside of the 50-foot buffer.
It is. All right, anybody? Question? Good? Anybody else? Any objections?
No, close.
Take a motion.
Motion
I
to
make a
close?
motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good luck with the
Thank you.
project.
Thank you.
Jeff, while you're here,
Yes.
we've continued the Crosby piece, and since you've been working on that, maybe take a minute and just see where you think we should be headed.
Sure. So we got comments back from Merrill Engineering Stormwater Review. We have some changes to make. They don't look like anything major to me. We also got a letter from one of the neighbors on Thursday or Friday last week, and
Right.
he had a few comments. The first one, they were saying that the floodplain and watershed protection district appeared to be incorrectly shown. I double checked that every way I could for today, and it's accurate. So the road is outside of that district.
Yep.
They had another comment that the fill is greater than 2,500 square feet, so the state allows 5,000 square feet. Your local regulations say 2,500. We're at 4,300. It's exactly the same amount of fill and replication that was approved back in 2012. If we were to reduce that to 2,500, you're only gonna have a 15-foot wide clearing to work with. So we need to consider that if we're gonna make the changes. And then there were some comments about the gates. The gate of the entrance, is that going to be left locked, open?
We can
So,
answer some of that.
yeah, so I went through the letter, and I think it's all stuff we can address.
Okay. I know that they questioned, again, there was a question on the area, I think Doug had looked at that with you before, and they questioned, I think that was still brought up again as to whether it's correct or not, but both you guys.
Yeah, I can speak to that.
Sure, would you?
There's nothing wrong, and I would like to point out what a well-written letter this is, and they did their homework.
Yeah.
They, put a lot of work into this. I think what it is, not really, it's an area calculation discrepancy, it's a methodology. That they're taking the width of their area estimates are correct. They're taking the width of the culvert and multiplying it times the length of the roads, basically length and width area. And what Jeff did is really much more specifically follow the toe of the slope, which follows around the proposed 2-to-1 slope and then goes around the pipes and back in. So you're reducing that area in there. So it comes out to be a smaller area by doing it like that. So that's why I did it myself and checked it within, I think I wrote something maybe within 1%
Right.
of what he came up with. I was a little bit higher. It's a little subjective when you do that because you're following, a proposed toe of slope. But in my opinion, with the other applications that we see here all the time, when somebody has a proposed, foundation, we accept the area of the foundation. Even though we know that when you dig that, you're gonna go a little wider, and so I don't think they're saying 5,000 feet is an unreasonable thing to say. That's what a person would say, is like, well, here's a length and width and in practicality. But we don't hold people to the standard of that. We allow an engineer to be as tight as, it's an engineer's estimate, it's a proposed grade, and we allow them to use that, I think, in most all applications. So I think it's.
You can state that accurately, too.
And you
We
could,
don't have
you
to
could
put-
put stakes in the ground and hold them to that toe of slope. And so I really think you could, because you're filling dirt, you know, there's gonna be some excavation.
Right.
But we don't take into account that the thing is like you might hit a tree and the hole gets a little bigger and things like that. We're accepting an engineer's estimate, which is always a little tighter than, you know, but unless we were to put in the bylaws that you have to add 10% or 20% or something like that, it's not fair really to start. I don't see how you can ever do that and be like, you know, equitable in your applications with all the different proposals that come in. So I think it's a reasonable amount to stick with the 4,300 because that's what usually we get from engineers as an engineer instrument.
Okay.
Estimate. So it's just really that they're just kind of doing a length and width, basically making a rectangle out of it. He's got a shape that goes in like this and out around the total slope, so all those little areas get subtracted from that.
Okay.
So it's just kind of a discrepancy in how the area is determined, not really that anybody's incorrect there.
I think too, we're gonna be making revisions, for the stormwater, so I can, on the updated plan, hatch that area and put a polyline around it in color, to
Okay.
really kind of make it clear.
Yeah, so you can see it's not just a, and if and he talked, if I remember too, that the Heritage wanted him to reduce it to 1-to-1 slopes anyways, which will reduce that 4,300.
Are we gonna be able to do that?
Well, right now, we're at 2-to-1, and the benefit of that is that we can use the wood chips that are going to be on site anyways,
Yeah.
and stabilize it. If we go to 1-to-1, we might still be able to do wood chips, but you're starting to look at more of
Right. Which then makes it not as good, in my mind,
No.
I don't like
not
it.
as environmentally
Yeah,
friendly
the
either.
wood chips are much better.
Yeah, they're not untreated wood chips.
Yeah, they're
more
just
natural.
the ones that
So,
we're cutting.
we're gonna address national heritage after we work out these few pieces. We owe them a letter, write a response. Some of the questions that were brought up.
Yeah. If you want, we can address it when we respond to the stormwater stuff, put it on the letter.
Probably would be the best thing to do. And then the issue of the fill with the bylaw versus the state, I'm just wondering how the town has dealt with that before. The amount of fill that we're having, I wasn't aware the town bylaw was contradictory to that. So I'm just wondering what sort of standards been met before with other projects.
We had that crossing, that actually, I think it was Greg, that we denied, and they appealed to the state. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
For the access? And I think they didn't go by our bylaw square footage on the appeal, did they? I think they went by the state numbers, which would make sense.
More than likely, they would by the state.
Right, you remember that one,
Yeah.
for the access?
Yeah.
I really didn't look at that letter until this morning, so I haven't had a chance to
Sure.
really dig into that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I mean, there's a whole bunch of technical pieces in that, and if we get everything sorted out, whether it would make sense for a couple of us to say, meet with this abutter, and just run through it. If you guys have the time to do that at some point, it might make sense. Once we get everything kind of sorted out, to just ask if they'd like to come in here or whatever, we'll figure out your office, something like that we could do that. I'd like to be a good, we're right adjacent to their property. It was their property, which, and this is, they requested that this road be built, rather than be on their property.
Yeah.
So, if there's some questions that we can resolve, maybe that would be the best way to do it, rather than a whole bunch of letters back and forth.
Sure. I think to me, the biggest question is the 2,500 square feet. And I always, in my mind, I'm always thinking 5,000, because that's the state. I didn't even realize till he wrote the letter, that our bylaw is 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
So I don't know how So in my mind, it was, well, if somebody else came in for a similar proposal and they were building houses back there instead, would we let them go up to 5,000 square feet?
Well, you look at it, avoid, minimize, mitigate, right? So if they're going over the numbers, they would need to probably give some kind of mitigation, which this project does.
Which is the replication area. So what about the 2-to-1 ratio?
Well,
Is that a guideline, or is that,
Guideline.
it's not necessarily?
I think that's a fair question, and I guess if it developed, if it was, if you looked at it sort of in reverse, you know, we could have a developer or something say, well, why can't I be treated like this? And my response would be, well, anytime you wanna come in with a project where you're gonna give us all that land
Right, for trail system.
for trails,
Okay,
we'd
there you go.
gladly.
So the end use does matter.
Well, and if you read at the end of our bylaws, I don't know if it's a statement or a bylaw, it says any of these may be waived, basically, if there's an environmental benefit. So if you're gonna leave access to a trail system and not put houses there,
Seems like it's a benefit.
Yeah.
right.
Another benefit would be that if you tighten it up, you're gonna end up with retaining walls or riprap. It'll be the nice natural mulch look.
I really don't like the idea of a retaining wall, because I just would worry about somebody dropping a wheel off. If it's there, it's narrow anyways.
It is.
If you're driving in there, even if it's only a couple feet high, if you drop a wheel off, you're gonna have a,
Not getting back.
And I've done
yeah, a
that.
bad day.
You have.
I did that, yes, I did. Get
Well,
told
maybe
that.
at some point, because it seems like, I mean, you went through some length to already explain the area of disturbance, and they're still questioning it, so I'm just wondering if it might make sense at some point to just say, let's just get together on this, if they're interested. and explain it.
yeah.
Because we would like to see it moving forward, not get stalled much longer.
I guess maybe, since he's gotta write a letter to, if we wrote a letter addressing all of these,
Yeah.
along with your letter addressing the Merrill comments, and started with that, if they respond back with not buying anything,
Then
like, because I'm just trying to figure out, in their heart of hearts, do they just not like the project? Or is it, you know, I mean, because
Hard to
we
know.
could, the replication area could be moved. So that was another one, that's within 100 feet of the property, so it could be moved pretty
Right.
easily.
Yeah, and I think we will do that. We'll definitely
So,
do that.
there are concessions that could be made. I just was a little surprised that this would be controversial.
Me too. All right.
But, so I guess that what I'd like to put something in writing and put a formal documentation like out. So
Okay.
then it's part of it, and then if they don't like that and would like to have a discussion, then I'm fine.
Well, I guess I'd like to do that, but I wouldn't mind having a couple of, you know, to answer calculations and all that stuff. I'm not gonna be comfortable with that, with someone like yourself. or-
Yeah, no, I would,
The hatching in two will make it pretty clear.
Okay,
Put it in color, the area that's being built.
okay.
no, I'd be happy to review whatever you wanna.
How
as
far do we
as-
have to move the replication
Says I
area?
stuck my nose in there.
We're sliding it down the wetland another, like, further away from where we're filling it,
Okay,
50 feet maybe.
all right.
The replication's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, it will be.
Okay.
Okay, so timing wise, I'll make those changes this week, beginning of next week, and we have a hearing with you guys in 2 weeks.
Good.
On the second.
on the 7th.
Yeah, it comes up quick.
Yeah,
That's-
And we need to get Merrill to look at it too before then, so I'll jump right on it.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for your help with that.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
You too.
Hey, how'd Greg make out with the wild fox up there?
Oh, I don't know. I heard about that.
Well, I wouldn't wanna go out at night up there.
Well, they said they found one dead, that could be the one,
Well,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
Greg,
you know
Greg Morse lives up there,
Yeah,
in
he's
that neighborhood.
Has he been to work?
Pretty scary.
Yeah, you made it today.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks, Jeff.
What else do we have hanging out here tonight? Certificates of compliance, 8 Hawthorne Street, septic repair.
Good.
And 124 Man Hill Road.
Are those all good, Amy?
Yeah,
Okay, thank
Great.
you.
we've got those ready to go.
Yeah.
Any other,
Oh, what about that old business? I'd love to talk about that.
where are you?
Down
What
the
are-
bottom, Parker,
Old business.
third
Well,
floor.
just stick to the,
Okay.
I know it's complicated, but, so correspondence, agents, violations, anything that we need to touch on?
Well, we received a notice of intent today from Mr. Kamen.
A notice of intent? Oh, boy. Paul,
He really
A gift
signed
that
it?
keeps on giving.
Yeah, so that was a shocker,
Wow.
but it was a good, happy time,
Was that by South River?
yes.
Good.
And,
Did you report
We
that
have-
back to the, about,
no, not
Okay.
yet. We just received it, late this afternoon.
that'll be interesting.
Haven't even looked at it, but, so that will be on for the 7th.
Great.
That should make for some lengthy discussion there.
Yeah.
But, should be good.
bring a snack.
I always do.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, you.
You better bring two
you better do
snacks,
a favor.
A cooler.
a cooler.
Yeah.
Jen hasn't been to a
We can
game.
tailgate.
No, I
Oh,
know.
you're in for a
Oh,
treat.
you're in for fun.
I've only been through one king.
Oh,
That's enough.
gee.
Yeah.
Good. What
Well,
else?
I think that new business and old business kind of overlap in some ways. There's not a lot new, really. We're just plugging away. Any of the violation enforcement order stuff seems to be moving in the right direction. I was looking for an update on Webster Street, and I unfortunately don't have anything to report. But if anybody's been by there, maybe you just know.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed.
Really?
I
They
drove,
didn't
I
rip the
drove by
wall
too.
down or anything?
Nope.
No.
And they haven't added anything, so
Nope, they
that's a
haven't
good thing.
changed anything.
Yep.
So then I'm gonna guess that they had their pretrial conference and it got continued out. But, the Toll Brothers went to a pre-construction meeting this afternoon, so that's really ramping up. They have selected a contractor, SLT, who's gonna be doing most of the site work, not the remediation though. So, but I think in the next month, the place is gonna be a buzz of activity.
It's already getting busy.
Yeah, it's already a lot
Oh,
of
yeah, they've
cutting.
got the land pretty cleared. The houses, it's nice, so now.
Those houses on the right are gonna have a great view.
Oh, what a view.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a view.
It is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Yep.
Because
Really
that's
is.
gonna stay open on Oceanside, right there. That,
Right.
are they gonna give that to the town, or was
I
it
believe
just the
so.
marsh
No, I
Fred
think that,
Mighty's.
on the other
Yeah.
side?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what a view.
Yeah, it's nice.
Those houses are gonna be worth a fortune.
And then we've had some compliance issues with Prospect Avenue, which were brought to our attention by the abutter.
Right.
So we've been addressing those. And I think that's moving in the right direction, so that's good. And Parker, we sent out a letter about the mitigation money that they
Yeah.
owe us.
They owe it.
And it really is designated for the spit, so actually Frank and I are working on, other ways to try to fund Driftway Park repairs for the pier.
We used to have money in the conservation budget, commission budget, to deal with the plovers, and that was sort of the reason for looking for that, because there hadn't been funds for the plovers. But I know that the town has funded the plover protection outside of conservation.
Is that because conservation ran out of money?
Yeah,
Well, they
sort of,
weren't giving us
at the
money.
time, Tricia, the
Budget.
town administrator, sort of took that on her own. So I think if maybe we talk to Nancy, look back, see what the town has spent on that. And if this money gets used for that, maybe they'd see clear to take the money that they're not spending on the plovers, town money. It's just a matter of which Jarrett's in,
Which part, yeah.
and move it in the other direction. We're not gonna fudge it, Penny.
Well, we're not gonna fudge it, I won't fudge anymore. Oh, did I make a mistake?
We were in a selectmen's meeting and Penny
Meeting, and I
said,
used
oh, we'll
the word-
just fudge it.
I didn't mean.
Oh, my God.
We'll do like we always do.
Yikes.
But they understand,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
No,
they,
that was-
thankfully they
that
know,
went well.
I mean well, sometimes I say the wrong thing.
Mm.
Oh, God, yeah. That was so.
Was that an agreement, Richard?
Oh.
So do we have any
All right.
subcommittee
Um,
reports?
I have one question about, the abutters filed an appeal on 23 Oceanside.
Oh, yes,
So,
correct.
my question is, what happens with the
Yeah.
order, of the enforcement order that was in effect? Does
Well,
that
so-
still stand then?
No, the enforcement order actually was all set by virtue of issue of the order of conditions, because they had met the requirements of the enforcement order. So it's part of the history of the site, but it's not active.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what will happen next is DEP will send out a letter, which will be a notice of site inspection, and that will go to the people that filed the appeal and to the Conservation Commission, similar to what we did at 53 Border.
Yeah.
And so we are all welcome to go and observe how it happens, or ask questions to DEP if you have any questions, but, I mean,
Okay.
it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. And, yeah. And
So
I
when
think
is
that
this gonna be?
Excuse me?
When
We
will this
don't
be?
know yet.
We do not know yet, although I have an idea that it could be the week of the 5th, 4th, I mean, we'll see. Either
First week
that-
in November, you think? Is
Right,
that
not
what you're
next
saying?
week, but the week after, because
Yeah.
I think that they have a timeframe that, in which they need to perform the site inspection. So, I think that that's what.
They're pretty quick.
Mhm.
Yeah, on that.
Okay.
I went to actually the site meeting with the people that are doing Herringbrook apartment buildings, or
They
building
put a little nose down.
on CJC, and, so anyways, so that's an amended superseding order of conditions, so the local conservation does not hold the order on that, but we're party to what happens. But the project definitely did improve a lot from what they came forward with a year ago, so, yeah, I mean, it's the apartment building's right up by the road. The parking, I believe, is mostly out of the flood zone.
Yeah, well, they got a letter this week. and
They
they've
did.
gotta- And they've got to answer, there's quite a laundry list here, for Herringbrook. So
Right,
it
and-
isn't a go yet.
Yeah, no, so that's
It-
regarding the wastewater,
Yeah.
so of the
Well,
sewer.
it also says the parking and stuff. Yeah. Emergency parking, total number of vehicles to be accommodated,
Yeah,
shall be included. I mean, there's a laundry list here to say at the
Do
end.
we,
right,
will
and
there
that's a
be,
separate DEP wing, though, that the wetlands division
Yeah.
would just either confirm or accept the new site plans and call it an amended SOOC.
Yeah, it says
Or if
Bureau
they
of Water
feel that it's
Resources.
significant enough project change, they could require a new notice of intent or some other filing, but my sense on that site inspection is it's not headed in that direction, but we'll see.
so do we as a commission have any purview there now? I mean, most of this seems like it's outside
On
of
the
our,
sidelines.
Right, well, if you want to comment on the development, if there's anything that, input that you don't think was heard in the zoning board of appeals hearings, like the trail or access or just anything, any comments, we should submit that because there's a timeline for comments also.
okay.
And those will be solicited from abutters as well as local boards and commissions. So,
Okay.
Oh, I did have a question, Amy. Did you get back from town council on my CRs?
no, not yet, we're
Okay.
still trying to get in touch with each other.
I just want a real quick answer so those can move forward. Huh?
People elsewhere want ice water.
I know. I want my CRs done. And the state's waiting for an answer.
I want some hot cocoa. It's cold in here.
So,
Give you
so this
ice
is pretty
water.
good. Just a little tidbit here for, I got, Jen's been working with Trails Group, and there's a really good, excited group working hard on that, and really appreciate it. Yeah, it's awesome. And they're out there quite a bit, so,
Yeah.
Rich, one of the Trails Group, he pulls out his phone and he shows me a picture of a purple mushroom. And I said, oh, that's pretty cool. Well, when you know, a week later or so, we're at the fire station meeting with the deputy police and fire chiefs, talking about these trails and access, and the deputy fire chief goes, hey, look at this.
Purple mushroom.
The purple, oh, the same purple mushroom, and then it winds up being in an environmental
Oh, isn't that funny?
magazine. So if anybody wonders what the
Are they
Conservation
edible or
Commission's
not?
doing, we're
Now we know.
propagating purple mushrooms.
Is that the Scituate correct?
Is it,
No,
is
this
it
is just-
edible?
No, Paul and I were talking about that.
Yeah.
We wanted you to try it.
We don't know.
Right, let us know.
I'll make
Not that
a
we know
mushroom
the difference.
risotto and let you guys
Not
try
that
it.
we know the difference, Lisa.
You gotta make sure your own
Google it.
cooking's good first.
Yeah, I'll have you taste it.
I'm allergic to mushrooms, period.
Oh, shoot. Okay, then it's Penny.
So. But isn't that funny? I mean, there's a
Appreciate
couple
how
of
she just
people.
overshot me
So our
there.
trails are definitely being,
Well, you haven't picked on me
Used
before,
by
so I
lots of
figured I'd be nice to you.
folks, it's been great. And it's starting to pull together.
I want to learn about this purple
The
mushroom.
maps are coming along well. There's a few more getting closer. I think maybe 4 of them are either 90 or 100% or so. And I took the opportunity to walk the trail with my sister today. She'd never been on it, and she had the map, and there's a few adjustments that we should make. But it's definitely, we're getting closer and down to more of the verbiage and how it really comes to life. You know, how it ends up on the website and what that means. A big step was actually the people who are doing the maintenance had a new volunteer work with them this past weekend. And they're a close bunch, and they really enjoyed working with this guy. So
Oh, good.
it's
If you make that cut, it's,
Well, if you make Howard's
being
cut.
polite. Yeah, if you make Howard's cut, and Howard enjoyed working
And
with this
Howard
guy, so.
is a prince. I have nothing but good words to say about that
Howard-
man.
Howard has a lot of good in him, for sure. But we're making progress.
that's awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be really nice when these pieces are out there. And it was a good meeting that we had with the police and fire, and they're anxious to have that so that they're hoping that the maps will help them. Should somebody call and say they've had an accident or something, people will be able to a lot more clear on where they are. We'll have intersections marked and trails
Yeah.
marked, so, and they're gonna put that into their system so they can respond accordingly.
Unfortunately, I think one of the things that does become even more important is figuring out the kiosks.
All right, we'll get them.
Yeah, is just with the maps, and then actually, because having the intersections numbered means nothing if there's not a larger reference for them to understand what intersection 3
Well, as
is.
soon as the parking lots are done, the kiosks are going up in the parking lots.
Oh, for sure. It's just something
Yeah.
that comes up every meeting.
Yeah.
Is the design for the kiosk already selected?
I believe it's
Can you have little signs with GPS coordinates?
Yes.
I don't think people really get GPS coordinates.
Oh, because there's a lot of trails in New Hampshire and Maine that have the GPS coordinates, because you've got those.
Unfortunately, there's not great reception in a lot of these trails, so like,
Oh, okay.
you're not, you kind of just need to have a map that somebody can take a picture of and like follow and reference.
Yeah.
Very
Thanks, yeah,
Yeah.
looking good.
All right, anybody, coalitions of some sort, want to give any reports?
Well, the only thing I want to say, please, get your neighbors, come to town meeting. We've got Sunset is coming up for a vote at this special town meeting for the town to purchase it for $5.99. And then I have, and somebody else on the board, we have great plans for that down there, and Noah, and we can make one heck of a park down there. But we have to purchase the land first, so I really, if you get anybody you can think of to come.
think they have to live in Scituate, don't they?
They have to live in Scituate, yes, they do. But I want them to come to the meeting, because I don't want it shut down. You know, you better come and vote. in order
We
to
could
see
do
it.
like Chicago, we could bus people in to vote.
We're not gonna do
Yeah.
that. But anyways, that's the big one coming up at town meeting for the community preservation committee, that purchase, so.
Right. Anything else?
Town hall was a buzz today.
Oh, yeah.
Early
all the
voting.
voters.
Early voting, yeah.
I'll see you Wednesday.
I gotta do that.
It's
Social
for the next
hour.
2 weeks. You don't have to do it tomorrow if you don't
Where
want.
do you go to do the early vote?
Right here, right down the hall.
Right in the hall, just go out there,
Early and often.
and then.
You can
Richard
get a
and I
sticker, I voted
get to
sticker,
work
I
it.
saw she had a big roll of them.
Oh, you do get one?
Oh, yeah, we give them out.
Okay, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to
Second.
adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
There's